I know in the last video I said that we need to be more club focused and stop worrying about our body and biomechanics so much, at least until we have the knife really sharp, and then we can use biomechanics to make it an even sharper edge. But there is one part of the body that we do have to talk about just to get that center contact, that low point that I was talking about in last week's video to be consistent. Let's jump right in. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and the little bell off to the right so you don't miss anything. Select all the notifications, and also be sure to like the video. It really helps out the channel, really helps out the algorithm. But what I'm talking about today is a part of the body that we can't ignore when it comes to trying to make decent contact, and that part of the body is the hands, because the hands are actually on the golf club. So by default, what you're doing with this club and the grip being a part of this golf club and your hands being connected to that grip, you can't really say that you're going to move the golf club head, shaft, and grip and not include the hands by default because they're attached to it. So when I was talking about last week getting low point control, and again, I'm not talking about driver off a tee or anything off of a tee right now. That's a different scenario. But anything that's sitting on the turf, you have to have your low point occur after you strike the golf ball. It has to be on the target side of the golf ball, meaning that this club face and this club head has to be traveling down as it makes contact with the golf ball to a certain extent. When you do that, the only real way to have the club head traveling down a little bit is to have the grip of the club be outracing the head of the club, meaning that the club grip is going to get in front of the ball before the club head makes contact. Even if it's only slightly leaning toward the target at impact, that grip is still going to be ahead of the club face. And if the grip is ahead, your hands are on the grip. So your hands have to be ahead. So for anybody that's having trouble thinking about the club and making it an extension of yourself, and you have to think about what you're doing with your body parts, if that is the way your brain works, then think about your hands. Now, I really don't care what your swing is, how it works, what sequence you have, what timing you have, how far your feet are apart, how much you're bent over at address. All of that, I'm not even talking about that right now. But let's think about getting our hands ahead of the golf ball. Make sure that the hands are leading. And one way you can kind of go about this is when you set up to the golf ball, go ahead and set your hands ahead. Set them ahead and get a feel for what that feels like to have your hands ahead at impact. Now, you can start that way and take the club back and bring it right back to where you had it. Or once you've felt this, you can go ahead and put your hands back to where they were. My hands are still ahead of the club head. That is setting you up for proper impact. And you don't have to do it to an insane degree, right? But if you go ahead and set your hands and the grip of the club ahead a little bit, you're already sort of predetermining that impact position. You're already getting some of that ingrained into your system. And then you think about, just make sure my hands get in front of the ball before I make contact. You can think about something as simple as that and swing through. As I said in last week's video, small clubs, small swings, start small, start slow. You don't have to break out your 4-iron and try and make a Herculean swing at it to try and get this down. Matter of fact, it'll be better to practice it at slower speeds, but the hands have to be ahead at impact. They have to be, or else you won't be coming down on the golf ball at impact. Now that one didn't pick up on the machine, probably because it was hit at 400 miles an hour. But that's the concept. So if you're having trouble thinking about what the club is doing, and you've got to think about a body part, think about the hands. When these instructors talk about getting forward shaft lean and impact, there's really, you have to have it. You have to have it to a certain extent in order to make good, consistent, solid, compressive contact. The real quality strikes, you have to have it. And then a lot of the times what they're talking about is de-lofting the club a little bit to make sure that you're getting, you know, kind of your max distance out of your irons, which is what the pros are doing. Biomechanics is important. It's not unimportant. I'm not saying that, no, you shouldn't think about your body at all. I'm just thinking, hey, look, we're starting from a very crude, unsharp, blunt knife right now. And we want to get that blade sharp enough to cut through something fairly easy. And that would be the equivalent of pretty decent golf. Then you can use biomechanics to really put a razor's edge on that blade. But as I said, I'm trying to help normal average golfers right now, beginners, intermediates, and people who are trying to get to single digits, and just make sure the hands get ahead. That's a good way to really, it's not foolproof, it's not bulletproof, it's not going to guarantee that you're going to have good contact. You've still got to have the club coming in, not too much on the heel, not too much on the toe, not stood up too much, not laid down too much, not face wide open or face too close. There's still a whole lot that has to happen, but if you get the hands ahead, it's going to at least put one of the puzzle pieces in place to help you get much better contact, more consistent contact, and just be a better golfer all around, especially at the beginner and intermediate levels. Now also last week I told you about these Tommy Armour irons, the 845 Max that came out in 2021. That's my new set of clubs. And I'm loving those. I went out and played around last week. Man, the contact, the feel. There's just something about these Tommy Armour irons in the last 4 to 5 years that they've been coming out with that really just click with me. And also, I've got a mini driver in my bag. I've got a new bag for 2024. I'll be doing a what's in the bag for you. But this tailor-made 300 mini driver, just to demonstrate the difference between an iron and then a ball on a tee. Let me set this back here where you can take a look at it. But that ball sitting on that tee, now the low point can actually be back here behind the golf ball if you so choose. You can still, a lot of pro golfers are still contacting the golf ball with a driver like 1 or 1.5 degrees on the way down. Even though it's on a tee, believe it or not, I can still strike this golf ball on the way down. But it's going to vary. It's going to be up to you. You're going to have to play around with ball position and find out what gives you the best flight, what gives you the most distance, the most consistency, the most accuracy, the shot shape and flight path that you want. But your low point can be a little bit behind the ball or directly at the golf ball, what you would call a zero, where you reach the low point right at the golf ball. But when you have anything on a tee, it can be a full-on driver, a mini driver, a 3-wood, a 5-wood, can even be a hybrid or a 4-iron or a 6-iron off of a tee. If it's on a tee, it completely changes everything. Because now your low point can, if you would like, occur at the ball or even before the ball. But remember, that's probably going to change the position of the grip of this club in relation to the club head at impact, which will also change where your hand position is. If I'm here at impact with a 7-iron, I could be here at impact with this driver. I could have my hands and the club head pretty much in line with each other at impact. So if I set up using that same sort of feel, and this time I want to think about my hands reaching the ball at the same time the club head does, then you get a completely different result. That's the difference. Well, that mini driver just went out to almost 250 yards. That's not too bad. Mini driver so far, just spoiler alert for my 2024 What's in the Bag that's going to be coming up. finding some pretty good consistency with it. It's pretty cool. All right, final thoughts, and I'll kind of wrap up with this. If you've been watching the GTD channel now for the last almost 5 years, it's going to be 5 years in March, guys. It's January now. I've got 2 more months and it's going to be 5 years. But if you've been watching this channel for that time, you know that I kind of made my bones. I cut my chops by reviewing different swing methods and following different coaches' advice and tips and drills and approaches to how they swing the golf club, and people who say it's all arms, and people who say it's all lower body, and people who say it's both, and people who say it's controlled by the left, and people say it's controlled by the right. Lots of different things. One of the people that really kind of helped to clear my brain and eliminate a lot of confusion. AJ Bonar talks about there not being any real golf swing, and that you're trying to get the top of the club to go over the bottom of the club. And that promotes the grip leading on the way down, the hands being ahead of impact. And he kind of hinted at, forget the rest of it, just get impact. And when you're coming into impact, correct. And this really kind of jives with that. If I just think about getting my hands to outrace the club head and having the proper impact conditions, I'm not thinking about any of the biomechanics, my elbow, what my shoulders are doing, what the hips are doing. I'm not thinking about any of that. All I know is that if I make my main objective when the ball is sitting on turf to have my hands and the grip, if you want to be club centric, outrace the club head, if that's all I'm thinking about, my body is a great computer, and so is yours, to figure out what else needs to happen to facilitate that one outcome. Guys, thanks so much for all your support, watching the channel. It's almost 5 years. We're approaching that. I'm going to be pretty stoked about it. We passed over 10,000 subs before the end of 2023, and it's in no doubt due to your support and your constant comments and sharing and liking the video and subbing and everything that you have to do. There's a lot I have to do to make these videos, but you guys have to do a lot as well, and you do it. You come through for me, and I totally appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that some of this is helping, and I hope you're excited about 2024 and what I'm making the channel now. I hope you are as excited about that as I am, because I am really looking forward to this year, and I really hope beyond all hope that I can reach a lot of golfers out there and change their game. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.